Today, we are talking about whole heart creating from a place of wholeness. So, um, how many of you have watched The Greatest Showman? This is one of my favorite musicals. We're big fans of musicals here in my house, and we love The Greatest Showman. And this song, Never Enough, is just a gorgeous song. It's about how all the treasures of the world are meaningless without the person that she loves. So, like all the lights and all the riches are never enough to fill the emptiness she feels when she's away from the one that she loves. It is a breathtaking song and performed beautifully. Um, Okay, we still have people joining. If you guys are just hopping on, welcome. I just got started. So just grab something to take notes and jump right in. Okay, so we're talking about Greatest Showman and the song Never Enough. The summer after The Greatest Showman came out, the chorus of Never Enough was on repeat in my head. And it was telling me that I was never enough. And although it's supposed to be this beautiful love song, I was hearing it in my head as I am never enough. And over, I would be washing dishes and hearing, never enough, never, never, never enough. And all of the things I was doing felt like it was never enough, never enough. And it was this cycle that I was stuck in. I felt like my voice was never good enough. My songs were never good enough. And I was rejected from songwriting retreats over and over again. And every email echoed never enough in my soul when it said, oh, you didn't get picked this time. And, and at the time, my kids loved this movie and begged to listen to the soundtrack all the time. And I had to start skipping this song because the pain was piercing me so deeply every time I heard that I was never enough. And I knew I had a problem and I knew that I was believing lies and I wanted freedom. Can any of you relate to that like message on repeat? Like just type yes in the chat if you've ever had like something that's just like over and over and over in your brain. Um, by the way, my husband banned that song in our house for a while until I could recover. And now I can hear that song with freedom. But for a while, it just like, it was not allowed until I overcome these thoughts of never, never. Um, so this is keep saying yes, yes, yes over and over in the chat. So you guys know you can relate. Oh, I'm not alone. So these are all common internal struggles for creatives, really all of humanity, but I feel like it hits creatives in an especially difficult way. And it started when Adam and Eve ate the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It broke something in humanity. And um, and so when that something broke, we started dealing with this list of struggles. Um, and so I'm going to read through these. And if something pops out to you that you can relate to, just write it down in your journal. You can write it in the chat if you are feeling brave and vulnerable, but write it down in your notebook or your Google Doc or the note on your phone, whatever you have open. So these are some common internal struggles for creatives. Fear of failure, fear of rejection or people pleasing, a fear of success, perfectionism, um, criticism. So taking feedback personally, fearing that negative response, lack of discipline or procrastination. So struggling with consistency in your motivation, or a creative block, a lack of inspiration. Like, oh, I've got nothing to give. I'm empty. Doubt or unbelief, shame. I missed one at the bottom, feeling unworthy or unimportant, invisible. Imposter syndrome, feeling like everyone's going to find out that you're not as good as they think you are. Unhealthy comparison. So comparing yourself to others in an unhealthy way. Comparison is a normal part of the way our brain works. We like to categorize things and find similarities and patterns. It's part of songwriting. But unhealthy comparison comes when you're comparing and demeaning yourself in the process. Insecurity, feeling disconnected or like you don't fit in, isolation and loneliness, feeling like no one understands you, like you're not connected to people, feeling overwhelmed or burned out, exhausted, from like the pressure to produce, or anxiety or worry, like, am I doing this right? Is everything going to work out? All of these are common struggles, internal struggles for creatives. Chris Kelso is a man I met a few years ago. He wrote a book on the imposter syndrome. And he said that the inner critic or the imposter is like a shadow. We all have one when the conditions are right, and each of ours is unique to us. But that shadow is not a real person. It's more like an echo. It's like me hearing never enough on repeat in my brain. It's that inner critic that's constantly talking, and it's not real. It's just an echo. It's like a shadow. It's not real. I'm seeing some of you commenting in the chat with things you struggle with. Thanks for being brave and vulnerable. Yeah. Those are real. All right. So sometimes I still get frustrated when I struggle with fear of rejection or failure or feeling like I'm not enough or like I'm too much. um, I talk to my daughter about having big energy in a room sometimes and feeling like, oh, did I bring too much of myself into that space? And she's like, Mom, you can't bring too much of yourself. Uh, so anyway, it's all like that inner critic. So maintaining a whole heart is a lot like cleaning your house. And I know some of you moms out there are going to relate to this. There are daily tasks like washing dishes and sweeping floors, and then there are weekly tasks or spring cleaning, or, you always have work to do. And you have to keep doing the work, like it never gets done. I sweep the house and sweep the floors in the morning, and then we live in this house, and so I inevitably have to sweep the floors again. And I'll do the dishes and the sink will be empty, and then we have to eat and we use dishes to eat, and then those dishes go back in the sink and they need to be washed again. So just like having to keep up with household chores, you have to keep up with maintaining a healthy heart and a clean home in your heart. So having a healthy inner life, it takes regular attention. You have to keep sweeping the floor, but it's worth it to be the best version of yourself, for your own happiness and for the benefit of the people that you're ministering to. Okay. So let's go through some biblical basis for healing. All right. First, I don't know if any of you know who John Eldredge is. I'm a huge fan. And in one of his books, he says, people are like cut flowers. We appear to be well, but we're severed from the vine. So you have to stay connected to the vine. Otherwise, you're just putting on a display like a cut flower, but you'll eventually wither. Okay. All right. Here's some Bible verses to, Karen said yes, that whole list. Oh. All right. So here's just a handful of Bible verses. I'm going to read through them and just to speak over you that Jesus wants to heal you. All right. So first, this is Jeremiah 30:17. It says, for I will restore health to you and heal you of your wounds, declares the Lord. Psalm 147:3 says, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Isaiah 53:5 says, but he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment for our peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. Oh, y'all, this is good news. All right, one more. This is Revelation 12:10-11. It says, then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah. For the accusers of our brothers and sisters who accuses them before our God day and night has been hurled down. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. Oh, we overcome. We win. We win. So this theme of restoration is woven throughout the Bible. Okay. To restore means to put something back to its original condition. So I mentioned that back in the garden, when Adam and Eve ate from that forbidden fruit, something was broken. Well, Jesus came to restore us back to the way we were supposed to be, restore us back to our original condition. So part of the fall is the struggle with that whole list of like internal swirl. But Jesus has come to heal us and restore us. And as we do the work of being healed and maintaining, then it gets easier over time. So, like if I didn't sweep all week, or if I didn't do my dishes all week, then they would pile up and be overwhelming. But if I take care of it a little bit at a time, as things come up, I address them. As things come up, I address them. Then it becomes easier to maintain. Make sense? Okay. All right. So Jesus came to restore us back to our original condition. Before sin, before Adam and Eve were aware that they were naked, Jesus came to bring heaven on earth. This is the final answer to the Lord's Prayer. So when Jesus taught us how to pray, and he said, your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Jesus came to bring heaven on earth. All right, let me tell you guys a story. So I don't know, some of you who've known me for a while might be familiar with this story. If not, it's one of my favorite stories to tell. It's a big part of my testimony of how Chick-fil-A changed my life. So type in the chat, does anyone not know what Chick-fil-A is? I don't want to assume that you haven't had a taste of God's chicken. So if you're not familiar, okay, Diana says, I don't. I'm so sorry. My heart aches for you. Chick-fil-A, you guys. Okay. Chick-fil-A is probably just a very American thing, but I think they have them I know they have them in Toronto. So they're in Canada too. Okay. Chick-fil-A is a restaurant. Bless y'all who've never had Chick-fil-A. Sorry, it's in the chat. Sorry, for the people watching the replay, the chat is saying all these people who have no idea what Chick-fil-A is. Bless. Okay, refocus. Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is a chicken restaurant. It's a quick service restaurant that started in Atlanta. I grew up in Atlanta, and it was my first job was at a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then I had a few other jobs. And then when I was in college, I went back to Chick-fil-A. They serve chicken nuggets, chicken sandwiches, wraps, salads. They're closed on Sundays. The founder, Truett Cathy, was a devout Christian, so they're built on Christian principles. And so people call it the Lord's Chicken as kind of tongue-in-cheek. Christians all over America are heartbroken Chick-fil-A on Sundays, but they're also really glad that they're closed on Sundays. So Chick-fil-A. I was working at a Chick-fil-A when I was home on the summer between college semesters. I think I was around 20 years old. I had a summer job there. And my boss's wife invited me to a Bible study with some ladies from her church. And I'd never heard of Beth Moore. This was 20 something years ago. So she was still kind of new on the scene. It was when she first had come out with Breaking Free. So the Breaking Free Bible study goes through Isaiah 61. But I didn't know who Beth Moore was. I didn't really even know these women in this Bible study group because it was my boss's wife. But I was an honor roll Bible college student, so I jumped in with an enthusiastic yes and went through the next 12 weeks of studying Isaiah 61. So I'm just going to read the first 4 verses of Isaiah 61 so you can get an idea of where my heart was at this summer that I was working at Chick-fil-A, serving the Lord's chicken. Okay, Isaiah 61 says, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the God. Seeing some amens already, y'all. It gets better. To comfort all who mourn, to provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor. They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. So this is where my heart was at when a woman came through the drive-through and she said that she asked me if I was giving her chicken and taking her money. And she said, "Do you sing?" And at the time, I did not believe that I was a singer. I did not believe that I had a good voice. I did not think that anyone wanted to hear me sing. Um, I was I would write songs just for myself, like poems and stuff, just in my quiet time. It was me and the Lord. I thought these are never, no one's going to see these or want to see them. They're not good enough. That never enough. Um, Long before Greatest Showman came out, Satan was already saying, "You're never enough." And so I'm handing her a chicken, taking her money, and she said, "Do you sing?" And I laughed and I said, "Yeah, in the shower and in the car." She looked me straight in the face and she said, "God says that you have a voice and you're to belt it out." And then she took her chicken and she drove away. And something broke in me that day. And I had to ask a friend to come cover the drive-through window for me. I went and washed windows while tears streamed down my face. And God started bringing to life the dream that was inside me and started healing my heart of um, of all the lies that I believed. He was restoring the places long devastated and renewing ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. So God began binding up these broken places in my heart and rebuilding ancient ruins. I didn't fully understand what was happening, but he was bringing me back to life. And yeah, it was pretty amazing. So I want you to take a deep breath and ask the Lord, what part of Isaiah 61 do you need today? What is Jesus highlighting that is specifically for you? And then write that down in your notes. Let me go back to the beginning. So look through here and see, is he wanting to bind up your broken heart? Set you free from captivity, release from darkness? Is he wanting to proclaim favor over you, vengeance over you? Is he bringing comfort? Is he bringing beauty instead of ashes, joy instead of mourning, praise instead of despair? Is he putting you on display for his splendor and glory? Is he rebuilding and restoring and renewing? What is Jesus wanting to do right now? All right. So, oh my gosh, we are so short on time. We're halfway through our time and not halfway through my notes. So let's see if I can go a little faster. Okay. How do our hearts get broken? So there's certain ways that these like fractures happen in our hearts. These messes get made that need to get swept up. So sometimes it's lies from the enemy whispering in our ears. So demons will come and just whisper or twist the truth. Sometimes it's generational beliefs that are ingrained in our family or culture. I grew up hearing a saying in my house that said, "If you sing at the dinner table, the devil's going to dance on your head." I don't know who started saying that, but it was said around the table all the time. We were not allowed to sing while we ate dinner. So that was a generational belief that had to get broken in my life. Sometimes, yeah, whoa. Uh, Sometimes it's our own insecurities or the perceptions of our experiences. So if we've already been believing um, believing things that aren't true, whether it's from our family or our culture or the enemy whispering lies, then it's going to taint the way that we perceive the world we experience. So if I'm already believing no one wants to hear me sing, and then I go into a choir setting, I'm going to sing quietly because I'm going to believe no one wants to hear me sing. And then I'll hear someone talk. So then the choir director talks to the whole alto section and says, "Hey, can you guys sing quieter? Because we need to highlight the soprano part in this section." It will reinforce, my perception will reinforce, no one wants to hear me sing. And then I'll try out for a solo and I won't get the solo. And then I'll reinforce, no one wants to hear me sing. When that's not the truth, it's just my insecurity is like causing more fractures, if that makes sense. So it could be someone said something careless, and it pings you a certain way. Maybe you grew up in a sarcastic family that used humor to rib each other as a way of showing love, and that didn't feel good for you. Um, Maybe these generational struggles are written in your DNA, and Jesus needs to heal that where it's been passed down. I won't go into the science of that, but it's worth a Google if you want to deep dive into the science of DNA. But regardless of where they come from, lies take the truth, they bend and twist it to feed our insecurities. Lies will use facts and actual events, words people have said, and then add our own assumptions to insert meaning that was never really there. And lies will take the words people said and convince you they're all, or words that people haven't said, and will convince you that there are reasons behind the silence. And it often feels like truth, but it's not. Um, okay, so we need to reframe our thinking to overcome and heal what's been broken. So this is something that I know we've read a whole bunch of Bible. I'm not going into, like, for the sake of time, I can't go into everything behind, like, what's there. Romans 12. Go look up Romans 12, 1 and 2. It talks about being transformed by the renewing of our mind. There's a woman named Dr. Carolyn Leaf who wrote a whole book based on that, being transformed by the renewing of your mind, and it's called Switch on Your Brain. And at the end of our session, I'm going to have a slide with some resources. You can screenshot it if you want to see some of these books that I'm referencing, if you want to go research some more later. But many years after this Chick-fil-A encounter, I was leading worship, and a fellow worship leader introduced me to this book, Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Carolyn Leaf. She explained neuroplasticity in a way that I could actually understand it and apply it to my life. And I won't go into the whole book for the sake of time or how that works, but if you love science and you have this insatiable curiosity for how and why things work, I really highly recommend it. It's also very practical. It gives you this like 21-day map to rewiring your brain. It's biblically based. She's amazing. But to boil it down simply, your neural pathway is like routine. It's called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Carolyn Leaf. Okay. So your neural pathways like routine. So they like to follow the same route. Think about if you are like driving your car and it feels like your car is driving itself home. Like it just knows which way to go. And you've gone through like 3 stoplights and you don't remember stopping at them. And you're like, oh, I hope those were green, because your brain was on autopilot. So autopilot is neural pathways that are well worn, because to avoid decision fatigue and free up some space in your brain for other functions, your neural pathways want to follow the same path over and over again. And if you are used to following the same path, that path isn't always the best one. So think about, imagine that you have a big yard and there's a tree in the backyard and you want to get from your back door to the tree. And there used to be, and there was like a bucket in the way. So you had to go around the bucket to get to the tree. All right. And you got so used to going around the bucket that there's this well-worn path where like the grass has died and you always take this path around. Well, then all of a sudden this bucket's removed and there's a quicker path there, but you're used to going this path that's been worn in the dirt. And you need to remember, like intentionally think of going straight through where the bucket used to be, straight through, and find a new path. But you're so used to going on autopilot in the way around that you have to intentionally go straight instead of around. I hope this is making sense. So reframing your thinking is shifting you from going around in the unhealthy mindset into the healthy mindset of going straight through. So your brain, if your brain defaults into patterns of that fear, doubt, insecurity, then, and you immediately think, oh, no one wants to hear me sing. No one likes my songs. My songs aren't good enough. Someone else is a better worship leader than I am. I shouldn't even try. Like those, or like, no one sees me. I'm invisible. Those kind of thoughts are the normal pathway. Then like find out from the Lord, what's the better way? What's the truth of what do you really have for me? And then make a plan to intentionally make that new path and that new neural pathway. So, did I put this verse in my notes? No. Okay. So the 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take every thought captive to make it obedient to Christ. Okay. Taking every thought captive is an intentional choice. And this is something I started teaching my 15-year-old daughter when she was maybe 3. And I would say, okay, when that fear comes and you're afraid at night of whatever, she was like deathly afraid of mulch. And I said, when you're laying in your bed and you're thinking about mulch and you're afraid that there's mulch in your bed, say, take that thought, take that fear and grab it and put it in jail. And we would take the fear and put it in jail. Now you need to replace that lie with the truth. Okay. So take that fear of mulch. She was 3 and maybe 2. And then say, okay, I am safe. There are angels guarding me. The mulch is not going to harm me. And speak truth to the lie. And we would often have like specific worship songs that would speak that truth with calming melodies, combining like the music with the truth to wash over her. So the music would tap into the emotion and bring calm, and the truth would wash over her. So it was touching her, her mind and her soul, her spirit, her body, everything. So identify the lie, speak the truth to it. Let me get some water. Okay. I know some of you guys, if you look at your paper, you've already identified the lie. So now we're going to talk about speaking the truth. Okay. Because it's harder than it sounds when you're getting started. It sounds really, it's simple to say. Walking it out is really hard, or can be really hard. So my dear friend Matt once told a story about taking care of his lawn. So my friend Matt, we were on staff together at a church in North Carolina. Neither of us live there anymore. But when we lived in Asheville, he had a beautiful lawn, gorgeous, gorgeous lawn. Oh, Karen's here. Karen knows Matt too. So he's a basket artist, like a woven sculpture artist by trade. So he takes kudzu and weaves it into these beautiful baskets. But he also loved to take care of his lawn. He loved plants and flowering shrubs and beautiful trees. He had a moss garden and this great big lawn. And every spring, the lawn was threatened by weeds that would come up. And so he had a guy that he would hire to come and take care of the weeds. And he was chatting with the guy one spring about the best way, or he was chatting with the guy at the Lowe's, but the best time to get rid of the weeds. And he said the best time to take care of your lawn is in the spring before the weeds come, before the grass starts coming back. And he said, you don't just kill the weeds. You don't just spray the lawn with weed killer. You overseed the lawn. So you plant tons and tons and tons of grass seed. So you go over the lawn with more seed than you think you need. And they called it overseeding the lawn. So he would overseed his lawn, and he said, when you overseed the lawn, you put so much grass seed that it actually chokes out the weeds, and the weeds don't have room to grow because there's so much grass. Is this making sense? So the thoughts we plant as seeds will grow into beliefs. So when we are planting seeds of truth in our lives, they're going to grow up in our hearts into beliefs and choke out the lies. So speaking the truth over and over and over, intentionally saturating ourselves in truth, means we have to overseed the lawn in the garden of our hearts. So God gave us free will. We get to choose what seeds we're going to plant in that garden of your heart. All right. You get to choose. You choose your thoughts. You can take them captive. You can be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You renew your mind by seeding it with truth. So whatever you are exposing yourself to, whatever you behold, you become. Behold truth. Saturate yourself with truth. Overseed your lawn with truth. Okay. But the trick is to plant the seeds before the weeds start popping up. So the time to overseed the lawn was not in the late summer or late spring, early summer, when the weeds were already up and you already saw the clover and everything, the dandelions popping up everywhere. The time to seed the lawn was before the weeds came. So we can clean up the mess that's there, like take those thoughts captive, rewire your brain, but also be feeding yourself truth, seeding yourself truth before the lies come, so that you're ready when those situations happen and you're tempted to take that long way around. No, this is the truth. This is how I'm going to go. I'm going to take that shortcut now because that bucket's not in the way anymore. Okay. All right. Notes. So know the seeds that you want to plant in your garden. In my experience, the best way to overseed my lawn is with biblical affirmations, taking scripture and speaking it over myself over and over. Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. Okay? It doesn't say, don't think about porn, don't think about lies, don't think about this, don't think about this. Philippians 4 says what to do. It says, think on these things. That's how you renew your mind, is by choosing the positive, not trying to avoid the negative. Okay? Yes, Julie says, change that song in your head, rewrite it. So instead of never enough, I am more than enough. I'm always enough. Jesus is enough. So I started writing songs that would speak a better truth over me. So that instead of singing never enough, I was singing whatever is good, whatever is true, whatever I think about, let it point me back to you. Like I wrote a whole song about Philippians 4:8. I wrote a song full of biblical affirmations on, it's called Remind Me. I wrote songs about like the truth, just how much truth can I sing over myself day after day after day? What lie am I believing? What is the truth? Okay, I'm going to sing that over me. What is the lie? Okay, what is the truth? Okay, I'm going to write a song about that. I'm going to sing that over me. Okay, you guys are songwriters. Write the song that you need to hear in the season that you're in. Okay. Geraldine said, how much truth can I sing over myself day after day? A whole lot. Yes. Okay. Someone's coming in. Right. Okay. We still got time. I think I can finish. All right. So, I already said this. The thoughts we plant as seeds will grow into beliefs. So think about that. You get to choose what seeds you're putting into your garden. They're going to grow into the beliefs, into the things you believe about yourself and about others throughout your day. There's a joke in my family that whenever I go somewhere, whether it's like an oil change or the grocery store or whatever, I come back and I tell a story about someone I encountered. I said, they are so nice. And they joke that everyone I talk to is so nice because I'm so nice and I expect people to be so nice. And so I get what I'm expecting. And so it like shocks me when someone's not nice. Like, oh, that was rude. Why were they like that? And then I try to like reframe the situation. Like, well, maybe that person had to pee really bad. And I like start to write a better story. Like they weren't rude to me because of something I did. Maybe someone cut me off in traffic because there's like a bumblebee in the car and they're freaking out, or there's like a spider on the windshield and they're freaking out and they're like in a big hurry to get where they're going so they can get out of the car. And so sometimes we'll just make up outrageous stories. My daughter and I make this a game now that like if someone does something that pings us the wrong way, we'll make up some story about why they were that way. Like, well, maybe that cashier was really rude to me because she just got really bad news. Or maybe the last customer was really rude to her. Or sometimes we'll just make up really, like if it's really bad, we'll make up funny stories. But like reframe the thoughts that you plant, because that's going to grow up into beliefs of how you perceive the world and encounter and experience the world. Okay, that was not in my notes. That was a bonus. Okay, what's next? Oh, these are some biblical affirmations. So these are examples of the affirmations that I would speak over myself. I won't read through them all. You can read through them. I'm also going to put in the chat. Let me see if I can do this while it's sharing. Okay. I'm going to put a whole bunch of links in the chat and let's see if it works. I'm sorry, this is going to be a lot. This is also going to be in the notes in the replay. So, all right, there you go. So the first thing is a daily affirmations PDF. So some of these that are on the screen are going to be on that PDF that you can download from Dropbox. And it just has a handful of these biblical affirmations, things that I speak over myself, taking scripture, putting them into I statements to say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am loved with an everlasting love. I am chosen and appointed to bear fruit. I am redeemed and purchased by the blood. Okay. I created that PDF in Canva and I turned it into a template. So if you would like to customize that with your own affirmations, take Bible verses that are speaking to you, finding the truth that speaks to where you are at, that speaks to the lie that you're struggling with, you can take that template and make it your own. Turn it in. I used colors that match this PowerPoint presentation, or sorry, slideshow, Canva presentation. But you can like turn it into whatever branding you want, whatever makes you happy and brings sunshine in your life when you're reading these affirmations over yourself. But use that, customize it, turn it into whatever you need. I also wrote an ebook to go with the song Remind Me. I'll tell you about that song, but you can download that ebook, and that's more of like a little quick devotional that goes through affirmations and expands a little more on the Bible verses and the affirmations that are in that song. And then I also put in a little website of sample affirmations. So 100 biblically positive affirmations. Okay. So those are just 4 resources for you on affirmations, biblical affirmations. Okay. So some things you can do with these. These are things that have worked for me. Print your affirmations. So that's why I gave you a PDF that you can print out, or an ebook that you can keep on your phone, computer, tablet. Hang them somewhere that you're going to see them every day, and read them out loud. Recite them to a friend or a roommate or spouse. Read them to yourself in the mirror. Like, look in the mirror and say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God doesn't make mistakes. He didn't make a mistake with me. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm God's masterpiece. Nicole asked if you can share these with people outside KMA. Yes, please share truth with people. So I had a list of affirmations that I printed to go along with my 90-day goals. So I would set goals that, and I have another session on 90-day goals. If you haven't watched the 90-day goals session, it goes along with this. It's a guided prayer journey, and we touch on affirmations there as well. I printed out my 90-day goals, printed out my affirmations that spoke truth to the strength I needed to get through my goals. So there were things that God was calling me to do in the season, my assignments, and I knew this is the strength I need to accomplish the assignment that God gave me to do. So this is what I'm speaking over myself. And I put it in, like in one house, we had a medicine cabinet, so the mirror would open up and it was on the inside of the mirror. So I'd open my mirror, open the medicine cabinet to brush my teeth every day. And while I'm brushing my teeth, I'm reading truth over myself. Okay. You could, at another season in my life, I wrote them down on note cards and kept them in my purse with me. And this was before smartphones. So when I was waiting in line, remember when you had to wait in line? Some of you might not remember. There was a time when you had to wait in line without a smartphone, and you were just standing there, and you could either talk to strangers or read a book. And I had note cards with Bible verses that I was memorizing. And so I would stand in line at the grocery store and read through my affirmations. I would sit, I had them in my car on the dashboard. So sitting at traffic lights, when I'm sitting at a red light waiting for it to turn green again, I'm reading affirmations. I have a friend who's I'm not going to call her out here, but she has done this beautiful thing where she has recorded herself saying the affirmations with some visuals to go with it. And she designed it in CapCut. So there's a video she watches, and it has like the audio of the affirmations and the things that she's believing for and the truth she's washing over her. It's so whatever works for you, find a way that you're going to encounter this daily. It might be something on your phone and you read it first thing in the morning, last thing at night. But like seed your lawn with truth. Okay. Let me get back to my notes. Back to my notes. Okay. I already talked about some of this. Great. So I talked about some of the songs that I sang that were full of truth and freedom and hope, that were, as it was rising up in my spirit from reading the affirmations. And the songs became these handles that I could cling to. So like if you ever been on a subway or a tram or a bus, and like you hit a turn or a rocky spot and you got to hold on to the handle to keep you from like falling over. So sometimes life is going to like bump us around a little bit. Scripture and songs, they become these handles we hang on to keep us from falling over when life throws us into like bumpy situations. So write the songs to be handles that you cling to when life gets bumpy. So the Remind Me song story. Is this in my slides? No, that's the next thing. Okay. So the Remind Me song story. Do I have time for this? I do. I'm going to make time. Okay. So some of you know Coach Katie. She's one of the other coaches in the group. Katie and I joined KMA at the same time, almost 5 years ago. And we were both writing songs, and we were writing, but we hadn't written together yet. I think this might have been the first, no, was it the first song we wrote together? Maybe, I don't remember. This was one of the first songs we wrote together. So we developed a friendship through KMA, and we're like talking back and forth. We had both applied for the same songwriting camp, and we both got rejected. And I was so sure that I was so confident that I was going to get to go to this camp. I had actually blocked off a weekend, like took time off work and scheduled to go to the city where the camp was going to be held and stay with somebody. And so instead of canceling my plans, I decided to still go to that city, like get away, took time off, got away from my family, and went away for that weekend to just have like a quiet retreat instead of going to the writing camp. And so we were both kind of like, not kind of, we were really bummed that we didn't get into this writing camp. And um, and it wasn't the first rejection letter either of us had gotten. And so we were battling these thoughts of like rejection and failure and not feeling good enough. So we decided to get together on Zoom and write a song. And so she brought in Allie McFarlane, and here we were, like East Coast US, West Coast US, and Scotland, all on Zoom together. And we decided to write a response to rejection. So when that rejection started to come, when those lies started to come, what I need is Jesus to remind me what the truth is. So the whole song was built around affirmations, like I'm loved, I'm chosen, I'm adored, I'm redeemed, and I'm restored. And so we wrote this whole song, and um and then out of that, there was so much positive response to the song, and people were like resonating with it. And um, and so I built like so I wrote the ebook, built a playlist of of affirmation songs and promises on YouTube that would just create this whole soundtrack for healing for people to help them speak truth. And um, and it's a lot of devotional worship songs, like the ones I've written and other people have written to help maintain that healthy heart. Um, Let me get you a link to that too. Just a second. Okay. So here is that YouTube playlist. Okay. Oh, Deanna said, can this be put in our portal on guides? Because I don't know how to save without it getting me out of Zoom. Yes, because you're probably on your phone. That's totally fine. This is going to be, we'll upload this into the KMA online portal. It'll be in recent sessions until it gets categorized, probably under the mindset stuff. Um, and I'll have Hazel put all of these links in there. I'm also, after our session is over, I'll put all of these links into the event in the Facebook group. So the event chat in Facebook will have everything that I've copied into the chat here. Okay. All right. We have 4 minutes. So some other practical solutions, in addition to the biblical affirmations, you can redirect your thoughts with questions that help align you with that Philippians 4 of think on whatever is good, lovely, pure, praiseworthy. So these are some questions that I often ask myself when I'm going into a situation that might have a tendency to ping me, or if I wake up in the morning and I'm reading my affirmations and then I think of a thoughtful question like, how can I bring beauty to everything I touch? How can I bring beauty? It doesn't even, not even just like visual beauty, but how can I bring beauty to the words I say, to the way I drive? How can I bring beauty to the way I teach my children? How can my actions transform the world today? Sometimes the smallest thing can send ripples of the world. How can you love well? How can you bring peace and joy to the space that you're in? Yeah, so good, Tammy. So those are some of the questions that I ask myself. These are some other tools that I use. Do not underestimate the power of breath. Box breathing or just deep breath. So box breathing. So box breathing is when you go in a box. So you'll breathe in for 2 counts, hold for 2 counts, out for 2 counts, hold for 2 counts, in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3, hold for 3. And you can like go up to 8 counts if you want, but having that like rhythm of breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, or just taking like a deep breath. It quiets your mind and it settles your body. Like even talking about it settles my soul in a powerful way. But scientifically, deep breaths send oxygen to your brain so you can think more clearly. A lot of times when we are overwhelmed by emotion, our breath gets stuck up here. I don't know if you've ever had like recognized when you're panicky, you breathe up in your chest, or if you are anxious or angry, you start to breathe up in your chest. If you can, but breathing shallow up here actually starves your brain and your cells of oxygen. So if you intentionally take a deep breath, like from your gut, it reoxygenates and oxygen helps your brain work. So just a deep breath. It's how God designed our bodies to function. It's so good. And then I have a spiritual warm up and cool down that I do whenever I need to, whenever I'm on a platform or a stage or need to like perform or present or whatever. Just like you do vocal warm ups and cool downs, spiritual warm up and cool down for me looks like going to the Father and saying, what do you think? Father, what do you think of me? Tell me about the masterpiece you made. Tell me about how I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. What are your thoughts toward me today? And the Bible says his thoughts toward us are good. So if you're not hearing good things, it's probably not God things. So like quiet your soul until you can hear what the Father is saying about you. Let him really just like wash you with love and truth. And then go on the platform and whatever you're doing, leading worship, performing your songs, sharing in a song share at a writing retreat, teaching, or whatever. When you're like on stage and you have the tendency to get like pinged with that doubt, self-conscious kind of swirl, that spiritual warm up is like, God, what do you think about me? Go do your thing. And then when you come back, sometimes there's this temptation to look for affirmation from people and build yourself up from people. Before you get to the people, go back to the Father and say, God, tell me, what did you think about that? And he's not going to point out every time you missed a note or forgot a word or missed your cue or didn't make eye contact the right way or made a funny face that someone's going to screenshot and post on Instagram, which rarely happens. I laugh when it does, though. But instead of thinking about, like, you can get stuck in that swirl, instead go to the Father and say, God, what did you think about that? And he will be so encouraging. And it's a great cool down to build you back up and recenter you and what he thinks before you go back out into the feedback from humanity. Which is good. We need affirmation from people. God designed us that way. But go to the Father first, then humanity. Okay. Next. Oh gosh, I know we're over time. I'm so sorry. If some of you have to bounce, that's great. I'm almost done. So know your value. So knowing your value, knowing what you bring to the room, it's going to build your confidence and help overcome that unhealthy comparison. Celebrating others is also going to help overcome unhealthy comparison. So unhealthy comparison when we're like judging and evaluating ourselves against someone else. So if I'm thinking I'm a singer and Katie's a singer, and well, Katie sings differently than I do. Does she sing better than I do? Or does Katie have her own gift that brings breakthrough? And I have my own gift that brings breakthrough in a different way. And we both sing differently. And I know the value I bring to my space. to the space, and I know the value Katie brings to the space. And so I'm going to celebrate and champion Katie while I'm standing in the confidence of who God made me to be. So we can sing on a song together and not feel like we're competing, but we're actually collaborating. And when we bring our gifts together, it's going to elevate each other even more. Okay. So if you're struggling with comparing yourself to somebody, just start to celebrate and lift them up and cheer them on. And it's going to break that comparison pretty quickly. Um, and if you still find yourself struggling, if you are breathing, you're doing your spiritual warm-ups and cool downs, you know your value, you're celebrating and championing others, you're doing your affirmations, and you're still finding yourself stuck in this swirl and like, why am I still struggling with this? Ask for help. Work with someone who's equipped in inner healing. There are people in KMA who are like brilliant at this. I Geraldine Schrock, I think she already left, but Geraldine is a wonderfully gifted minister in inner healing and helping overcome wounds and struggles. And Leslie Davis is another who's been equipped in inner healing and has like this beautiful track record of breakthrough that she's helped people walk through. Um, and I'm sure there are so many others in the group, but get some help. Meet with someone in your church, or find an accountability partner, someone that you trust here in KMA or someone that you trust at church, and talk to them. Say, hey, can you pray for me? Can you help me work through this thing? I'm believing this lie. And I know it's not true, but I'm having a hard time overcoming it. Will you pray for me and help like hold me accountable to the truth? So ask for help. All right. Okay, these are the resources, the books that I mentioned. So overcoming lies is a practice. It's just like I mentioned, sweeping the floors. It's going to pop up in new ways and in new seasons, like keeping the floor swept when people have been walking all over it in their dirty shoes all day. So these are the resources for further study. Breaking Free. This is the Bible study I did that's based on Isaiah 61. I first went through it over 20 years ago. She has since updated the Bible study and put out a newer version. And it is, I haven't done the newer version, but I'm sure it's amazing. Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Carolyn Leaf. This is the one about neuroplasticity and rewiring your brain. Overcoming the Imposter by Chris Kelso. This is speaking specifically to imposter syndrome. All of these, by the way, are Christian perspective and like kingdom perspective. But Overcoming the Imposter is written actually for entrepreneurs, not for creatives. And if you own a business or know someone who owns a business, or I think as Christian artists, independent artists, we are business owners. So that's really helpful to have Overcoming the Imposter. Created to Thrive. This is my friend Matt Tommy, who told the story about overseeding his lawn. He wrote a book called Created to Thrive, which touches on a lot of this as well. Adorning the Dark by Andrew Peterson is one of my favorite books that I feel like is underrated. And I wept reading through it. And this one is for songwriters and singers. And gosh, it's such a beautiful book. All Things New by John Eldridge is another great one. And then I have a playlist on Spotify called Mended that's just like a lot of soaking devotional music to help you process through healing. Okay, so before I pray us out, just a quick recap. Internal struggles are common to humanity since the fall. Jesus came to heal our hearts and our minds. Change is a choice. So choose the thoughts that you want to think. Seed your lawn. Seed the garden of your heart with the truth that you want to grow into beliefs. And then have a plan. Know which seeds you want to plant in the garden of your heart. Okay? All right. Before I pray us out, I know that we've gone about 10 minutes over time. Does anyone have any questions before we close out the session? I felt like I just blasted y'all with a fire hose. Like, I'm tired talking about it. It was a lot, but we got it into it, almost got it into an hour. Okay, you guys good? Thank you guys. All right, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to pray for us, and then I'm going to go post these resources over in the Facebook group and send them to Hazel so that she can put them on the replay in the online portal. Okay. All right. Oh, Jesus, we thank you that you are the healer. We thank you again that you rebuild ancient ruins and you restore devastated places. God, you recognize that things are going to get they're going to get broken down and things are going to get chained up, that there's going to be sadness and grieving. You know that that's part of the world that we live in, but you came to bring freedom. And you came for us to have whole hearts. So Jesus asked that you would show us the pathways to healing. Holy Spirit, partner with us to do the hard work to see freedom. God, I ask that you would plant us in healthy communities that would support us in this journey toward wholeness. Plant us in communities that would build us up and hold us accountable to truth, and that would wash us in truth and affirm us in truth. I ask that we as a KMA community would be that safe place to build up and affirm and support and speak life into people. Jesus, we thank you for your life and your redemption and your restoration. I ask that you would bless each person in the Zoom room today, that we would continue on today with just this posture of reverence and awe for your truth and an intentionality toward seeding the garden of our hearts with truth. Remind us of truth today. In Jesus' name, amen.